also in this Anima Animus thing, or masculine feminine thing, I think we all have a measure of both. And part of maturing is being comfortable with that. I mean, the last 15 years since the United States started to war with everyone, we've had this masculinizing of the U.S. military. You know, oh God, you know, look at my muscles type thing. But but you know, in my experience with the Marine Corps, those guys never get to senior levels. Okay, the guys that are the he-man, muscle man, you know, gung ho, ah rah, you know, all those guys, um, you know, they can't balance things. They don't know how to balance. And so I knew one lieutenant colonel that was like that. Only one. I never met a colonel that was like that, or any general.
But
Okay.
you know, it's true in a lot of stuff because you're what here's artificial intelligence now. I call it deep learning, and it's making its presence known, right? Well, in the '80s, we called it connectionism, and people poo-pooed it. They said this is silly stuff. You don't want to deal with it. It'll never go anywhere, right? And it took a while, and the reason it didn't go anywhere is because the processors were not powerful enough, and then they needed to write some code too, but they had the basics already worked out. But the ones who were really carrying the flag at that time was Minsky and his crowd at MIT, and it was a very masculine, very controlled AI concept where they were going to script everything, turn it into programs, and then the machines would be able to power their way through knowing everything. And that was just such a masculine approach.
We have promised that this is not psychotherapy at this group. We're trying to understand what this man, Carl Jung, was talking about through 20 volumes of his collected works. We haven't even started those yet. We're still on the preliminaries here. And I know of a reading group in South Africa that's been going for 15 years. So, but we're just trying to get the basics here. And, you know, one of the things that Von Franz is talking about here is the rational and the irrational too, because art is partially about the irrational. Okay, you can have statistically what the size of all the stones in a bucket of rocks is, but none of those stones will be the statistical average, or very few of them, right? And so none of us are perfectly one thing or another. Okay, so for example, I never had a problem with my manhood, but I definitely do feel a feminine side to me. Okay, this reading group is a part of my feminine side because it's relational. It's bringing others in to talk about things that I've been studying for many years. When I run a company, I try to run it like a family. Okay, but a lot of people will run it the way Donald Trump runs it, which is you're fired. You didn't do it right, bye, you're gone. Next. That's a different way of being in the world. That's not my way of being in the world. You either run it like a family and your kids are your kids, and if they make a mistake, you have to accept that. You have to accept that mistake and try to use it as a learning tool for the next step, right? But Donald Trump, I think, when you screw up, you're in the penalty box for 3 months or whatever, you know. And lots of fathers are like that. Lots of fathers are like that, where they, you know, they'll put their kids on restriction and whatever.
And well, I was fortunate my father was not.
Well, that is fortunate, and mine was not either. My parents had a very strong relationship, but my point is that as I've gone forward in my Jung study, I definitely recognize my feminine side, definitely, and I work with it every day. You know, what I think about myself and my feminine side, I have no doubt about my manhood per se. Okay, but in terms of the masculine and feminine sides, I'm kind of turned off at the way the Marine Corps is projected on the movie screen, but so were my fellow Marines back when, in 1967, when I was in OCS. The people that were training me were turned off by John Wayne and those actors, okay, because they didn't reflect what the Marine Corps actually is. And what you see on the screen today does not reflect what you actually experience in the Marine
I
Corps.
remember that, like in the Green Beret and stuff. They were all recruiting films, right?
Oh yeah, I mean,
It was like you're a hero if you
yeah.
do this.
But they were total BS.
Sure. Oh yeah.
And
Yeah, I knew that.
you know,
As a
and
kid, I knew that.
and you know, I can't tell you how much I respect senior Marine officers, okay, to this day, okay, for what they are and what they represent. And that's also true of other services as well, okay, because if you've gone to the senior level in the U.S. military, it means you've gone to the Naval War College or the Army War College or the National War College or the Command and Staff College or all of the above, which is what I have done. I actually have done all those things as a reserve officer in the reserve course. And I know that those men would never, go fire off a nuke because Donald Trump had a bad day. Okay. They would never do that. Okay. And if anything, he could say that, but there would be so many checks on that down the chain of command. It would just never happen. And probably he would never even have a decision like that come to his desk. If he were to say it, somebody would pull him aside and put the vice president in charge, honestly, okay? Because I have that much respect and that much confidence in our senior officer corps. But,
That's very reassuring
well, it is reassuring.
to a layman, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, look, these schools are extremely professional. Okay, you cannot even imagine how professional they are, and I was actually introduced to the importance of Jung by those schools. In the three major schools that I went to, Naval War College, National War College, Command and Staff College, Industrial College of the Armed Forces, 4 of them, one day out of the 10-day reserve course they spend on the Myers-Briggs. One full day out of 10 days that they have you for your 2-week active duty for that course, they spend on Myers-Briggs. That's how important they think it is.
They do that at NSA too.
And at NSA too,
NSA.
I'm sure they do. Because it's a major part of the training for a senior officer to understand how missions are accomplished. You can't accomplish a mission unless people have all the personality types. You just can't.